one's about $30 less than the other.
If I'm going to purchase vinyl, I want to make sure it's an artist that A, I like, B, it's an album that I know I'm going to enjoy, and honestly, the third reason is the album artwork. Led Zeppelin 3 has probably one of the coolest albums, just for the cover, that you're able to move it around and the different artists pop up. And I just think it's one of the coolest album covers.
The one thing I do miss about vinyl, and this is what has gotten taken away, and it's the same thing with reading a good newspaper, you know, the print form, is the artwork on the albums. You know, you used to have this huge picture that a lot of thought was behind it, and the artwork was awesome. You know, the Led Zeppelin days, and Queen, and all those guys. You know, it was some beautiful stuff involved.
Personally, I collect records. I have since I was a little kid, and for me, the album art was a big part of it. Just a full format that made it kind of a when you make an album, it's not just the music. There's all these other factors that are involved, and it seems like that was so much more important before.
When you're looking at the album artwork, you could really appreciate it when it's on the vinyl format because it's so huge. It's like 12 inches, and you're like, man, this is how it was meant to see. It's like, this is a piece of art. You get to a CD, it's down to like 4 inches, and you're like squinting at it, like, well, I guess there's some cool stuff here. And then you get all the way down to your MP3, and you're like, this is like 1 inch screen. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then that's one aspect that's getting lost, is just the artwork that was associated with the album, which I feel is very important.
There's an artist I love called Bobby Gentry, who just had a couple of hits in the 70s. And she has this a track called Fancy. And I've been waiting to find the album, not just for that one track, but the other thing I love about vinyl is the record covers and the artwork. And on this album, it's a painting of Bobby Gentry, and she's got this amazing red dress on. I'll often buy a record and I haven't necessarily heard the music, but if I like the cover, I will just go on that. Like if there's dudes with afros on it, wearing bright colored suits and sparkles, I'm like, I think I'm probably gonna like it.
This is a vinyl. What makes this vinyl cool? You know what? To me too, when I go back to what vinyls are, they represent music for me too, in a way. Even though there's all those formats that have come out, 8-track, you know, whatever was before, vinyl just represent music, and to me, music is cool.
You know, when dance music came out in the 90s, vinyl record never really went away. That's all the DJs used vinyl. Now there is more digital around and it's easier to get hold of digital, but a lot of DJs from that era will prefer vinyl every time. And you see that here in Prince George too. Like there's quite a few local DJs that will only use vinyl. Lots of them use a mixture of the two.
So here's the deal. Between this vinyl and this vinyl, can you tell the difference? Besides looking at the name? This is a control vinyl. What control vinyl does is, it's blank. Basically, it allows you to temporarily put any music that you have on the interface onto the control vinyl, so you can play it out. That was my intro into it. I got my first real turntable.
It was almost a goal at that point. Like I needed a record player. I didn't know nothing about it. So I bought the record player. Didn't got an amp, didn't have any speakers or nothing, but I had a record player. And it's just been like getting one piece at a time after that. So then I knew I had to get an amp. I learned that I needed an amp. I'm like, how do I make this louder? And then I made my way down to Second Thoughts, and I met Larry there. And that's when I bought my first amp. and I wasn't even buying speakers at the same time, but he gave me these little tiny speakers just so I could listen to it. And Larry's the greatest guy ever. I'm glad he did that. It would have been painful.
Most people probably know Second Thoughts on 2nd Avenue. Larry in there, he's a great guy, and he knows his music. And you can get all different styles of music in there, and good quality records, second-hand mostly, but he orders new ones in too. But he'll give you a good price, and they're well looked after. He cleans them all up. So I love going in there when I get the chance.
Well, there's a lot fewer record stores now, so I think just from a wide perspective, it's less accessible. We have one small record store here, and everyone that likes vinyl records knows Larry because he's our record guy in town, and he knows a lot about music. So people like that to me are really important members of a community. That they're kind of the curators in a way.
Now there's an album cover. Here, could you do that face for the camera? Yeah, pretty good. HMV, Electron has a little part right by the drumsticks up the stairs there. And for new ones, HMV, London Drugs, and of course there's the thrift stores around town, Hospital Auxiliary, the Salvation Army. They have a nice little collection there. Of course, you want to get there as soon as a bundle gets dropped off because quickly it just becomes Mozart, gospel, and unwanted records.
It's interesting to go into a pawn shop, and there's a pawn shop in Prince George, and I was just rifling through a few records, and I found Prince's Purple Rain. And I'm not a huge Prince fan, but enough that I know that owning Purple Rain would be a pretty cool album to own. Whenever
I go to any city, I usually try and make a stop at a record store, and depending on where you are, you always have something to talk about with those people. So I definitely miss that. Like I say, there is a bit of it here in town.
Just meeting other people that love vinyls too is kind of cool. Conversing, finding out what records are there in their collection. Just hearing about other people's finds too sometimes. Mm-hmm. And then also I like to just dig through vinyls and find things that stand out. Like one time I must have spent 2 hours digging through vinyls in Second City Mover Company. I don't know, it was just a junk thrift shop. Okay. And I dug through it for like 2 hours, and like just about giving up, I found this one, and it has a picture of the Kiwanis Music Center in what used to be Fort George Park, which is now Lake Tenay Park. And it's cool. And then I looked in the back of it. One of the producers of the album was Murray Krause, our city councilor, the councilator.
He's the bomb!